I went in to break Johnny Depp on camera. He broke me instead with 3 quiet words. I see you. I wish I could say I was better than that I was the kind of journalist who protected people from pain. But when this started, I was hungry. Hungry for a headline. Hungry for a big break. Hungry to prove that I could pull the kind of numbers that make bosses stop calling you kid and start calling you ma'am. I told myself I was just doing my job. I told myself he was a public figure and public figures can take it. I told myself pain is part of the deal. It sounded smart in my head, tough and professional. But the truth is simpler. I was afraid. And fear has a way of dressing up as courage. The night before the interview, I sat alone with my list of questions. I rearranged them over and over. The kind of questions that bite. The kind that pull blood. There were softer ones on top, the ones you use to warm someone up. But farther down the list were the ones I had been pushed to ask, the ones that mocked the worst parts of someone's life and called it curiosity. I made jokes in the margins so I could pretend I was clever, not cruel. I pressed the pen so hard into the paper that I left grooves, like scars. Every time I paused, I heard my boss's voice, "Be fearless, we want the clip. Make it trend." He didn't say make it hurt. He didn't have to. I had reasons. We all do. My rent was late. My name was forgettable. I could hear my mother asking when I was going to do something real with my career. My own life had become a list of things I couldn't afford to feel. So I poured every shaky piece of me into that list of questions, like poison into a vial. And I told myself I would not flinch. By morning my stomach was a hard knot. I ignored the messages from my best friend, a voice note asking, "You okay?" I ignored everything. I had built a hard wall to get through the day, and I knew even a soft word might crack it. I told myself I would keep it together. I told myself I would stay sharp. I told myself this man was just a story and I was just the one telling it. What I forgot is that people are not stories. People breathe back. When he walked in there was something I did not expect. Not fame. Not power. Not anger. It was something simple. He said, "Are you okay?" As if I was the one who needed checking on. As if he could hear the trembling behind my smile. It made me angry. For a second it made me want to be even sharper, to prove I couldn't be disarmed by kindness. But his words, small as they were, found a crack. I shrugged them off. I told him I was fine. I would ask the questions. He would answer. The world would watch. Simple. We began. The first questions were easy. The usual things about the work, the craft, what it means to make art. He spoke gently, like someone who had learned to leave room for quiet. He chose his words carefully, and did not rush. His calm surprised me. I wanted heat. I wanted sparks. I wanted him to be defensive, but he wasn't. I felt my plans slipping, so I went lower in my list. I asked about the storms, the years of headlines, the noise that swallows a person's face and spits out something else. I didn't say it like that, of course. I said it like a challenge. I said people say, and some claim, and the internet believes, words that let you throw stones while pretending you don't have a hand. He answered with grace. He did not punch back. He talked about human things, mistakes, mercy, time. He said he tried to do his job. He said he tried to be kind. He said the noise was loud, but it wasn't the only sound in his life. I didn't let him stay there. I kept pressing. I said a sentence. I'm still ashamed of. I wrapped it in a smile. Maybe the chaos is your comfort. I said. Maybe you need the tragedies. Maybe without them, you're ordinary. He looked at me for a second. Not angry. Not hurt. Just steady. I felt a flicker of panic. This was the part where he was supposed to get upset. He was supposed to snap. He was supposed to give me the moment all the producers wanted. I could almost hear the counting in my head. 10 million views. 20. The future bending toward me. Finally sweet. But he didn't give me any of that. He just asked a question. Who taught you that? He said. It knocked the air out of me. Taught me what? That pain is content. He said. That you have to break people to do your job. I tried to laugh. I tried to roll my eyes. I said something about the public's right to know. It sounded thin, like a costume that didn't fit. He waited. He didn't fill the space. He let the question sit between us. It felt like a mirror. I'm doing what I was told, I said finally. No one wants me to be gentle. He nodded as if I had said something true but unfinished. I see that, he said. But do you? It was not a trick. It wasn't a trap. It was an invitation. I felt something shift in the air and in me. I wanted to push the moment away, so I did what I had planned. I reached for the sharpest question on my page. The cruel one. The one that dug its nails into the worst chapter of his life and twisted. I could feel my heart hammering as I read it. I spoke it like a dare. He took in the words, he breathed out slowly, and then he did something I did not expect. He thanked me for asking. No sarcasm. No sting. He said thank you as if I had given him a gift, not a blade. I know what you're doing, he said, still calm. I know what they want from you. I know what they want from me. I know how this works. But before we go there, I want to ask you something. One thing. And if you want, we can cut it later. I promise. Will you let me ask? I should have said no. I should have kept control, kept to the plan. But something in his voice made it hard to refuse. My throat felt tight. I nodded. He leaned in a little, not menacing, not fatherly, not anything that would fit in a headline, just human. When did the noise start for you? He asked. The kind of noise you can't turn off. No one had ever asked me that. Not in this way. Not with that much room inside the words. I thought about lying. I thought about throwing a joke like a shield. But the shield was tired. So I told the truth. It started the night my sister called me. I said. It started when I couldn't get there in time. It started when the doctor said her name, without saying anything else. It started with everyone telling me to be strong. Because I'm the one who keeps it together. It started when I built a wall so I could go to work and pretend I was fine. I hadn't planned to say any of that. I didn't even know I was going to say her name, until it fell out of my mouth. I felt exposed. I felt raw. I was afraid he would be gentle in a way that felt like pity. He wasn't. He was quiet. Then he said. I'm sorry. Simple words. No polish. Something inside of me eased a little. I realized I had been gripping my pen so hard that my fingers ached. I loosened them. The paper shifted. My list of questions looked different now. As if someone had moved the ink around when I wasn't looking. He was still waiting. He would have waited all day, I think, if I needed it. But the clock was running. The world behind the wall was expecting blood. I could feel it pressing on my back. The crew would cut. The producers would push in my ear. The machine would do what the machine does. That was the story I knew. There was safety in it, even if it was a cold safety. Go for the kill. Get the clip. Eat the praise. Sleep like a stone. He must have sensed it, because he brought us back to the edge and offered me a thread. We can do this your way, he said. I'll answer. It will make the noise louder. You will get what they want. Or we can try something else. We can try to say something that helps someone who is listening. Someone who is where you were that night. And the ratings? I asked. Because fear is never done. He smiled a little at that. Not a performance smile. Not a weapon. I can't control the ratings, he said. I can control whether I make the room kinder while I'm in it. I thought about my boss's voice. I thought about the night I didn't sleep. The hours I kept busy so I didn't have to feel anything. I thought about the way mocking someone's sadness on a list had felt like power. It wasn't. It was hunger, dressed up as purpose. What would you say? I asked him. To someone who thinks they have to break to be seen. He paused. His answer was both smaller and bigger than I expected. I'd say, he said. And then he let each word stand. I see you. It was like a door opened in my chest. Not a big crash. A small, quiet click. 3 words. I see you. I didn't want to cry. It felt unprofessional. It felt like failure. According to the world I had been living in. But something inside me decided without asking me. The tears came. Not dramatic. Not pretty. They came because something soft and true had been touched and could not pretend not to be touched. He didn't turn it into a moment. He didn't lean into the emotion for the camera. He didn't pull away either. He kept the room steady. "Do you want to pause?" he asked. I nodded. We stopped briefly. I wiped my face and didn't apologize. For once I didn't apologize. When we began again, I took the sharpest question on my list and folded it inward. I didn't throw it out. I just asked it differently. "Do you ever feel like the public's curiosity asks you to relive your worst days?" I asked. "And how do you protect yourself without becoming hard?" He answered without blaming anyone. He talked about boundaries and art. He said sometimes the most honest thing you can say is no. He said sometimes the most generous thing you can do is let people see that no too. He said we don't owe every story to strangers. And I realized I had been acting like I owed my pain to the world, that I had to hand it over to buy a place in it. We spoke about hope. He told me how he finds quiet in a noisy industry. Not with grand gestures. With small ones. He said he used to think survival was a loud thing. Then he learned it often sounds like getting through one more morning. I asked him who he was when no one was watching. He said he was someone who tried to keep promises. Someone who failed and tried again, someone who loved people who didn't make the news. It wasn't the interview I had planned. It wasn't the story the machine wanted. It was better. It felt like people listening to each other. Which is harder than it looks. When we finished, I thanked him. I meant it the way he had meant it earlier. No sarcasm. He said I could cut whatever I needed to cut. He said quietly, "Be kind to yourself." 4 words that felt like a blessing whispered through a door. Outside, the world snapped back like a rubber band. My boss wanted the worst parts only. He wanted the line about chaos. He wanted the dig that made me shrink inside. He wanted to slice the interview into little bites that would go viral for the wrong reasons. He talked about the clip. He talked about numbers. He talked fast. I said no. I expected the ground to open under me. Instead, there was a small silence. It lasted just long enough to make me wonder if I was about to lose everything. Then, to my surprise, someone from the team said quietly, "The other cut is better." Another voice agreed. My boss grumbled, not ready to give up. He said the audience wants blood. He said that's what people share. But here's the twist I did not see coming. The piece we put out, the one shaped by empathy, found its own way. People shared it not because it was cruel, but because it made them feel less alone. They clipped the 3 words and stitched them to their own stories. "I see you." Played over footage of kitchens, hospital hallways, quiet cars, late-night desks. People told their truths in the comments. Not just about him. About themselves. About a year that was too hard for no reason. About a brother back from nowhere. About a job that took too much and gave back too little. About holding your breath for months and forgetting how to let it out. My inbox filled. My phone shook with messages, not from strangers who wanted to hurt me, but from strangers who wanted to say thank you. It wasn't fame, it wasn't even a big break. It was a different kind of success. Kindness. Not numbers. It felt like medicine after all the noise. That wasn't the last twist. I got called into my boss's office. He started with a lecture. He ended with a sigh. "I don't understand the internet." He said, "But this worked. Do more like that. Do more like that." For months I didn't trust it. I thought it would vanish if I breathed on it. But slowly I let myself believe it. I let myself build a show with a different set of rules. Ask for the truth. Don't ask for the wound to be stripped bare for sport. Don't pretend people are stories. Remember that grief has a face and a family. Remember that fame doesn't cancel out the need for grace. Some people mocked us. Soft journalism, they called it. As if softness was weakness. But we weren't soft. We were precise. We asked hard questions without slamming the door on a person's heart. There's a firmness in that. A backbone. Kindness isn't fragile. It's a choice that you remold every day with your hands and your voice. In the first week of our new format, I was reading through messages late at night. One caught my eye, because it was short. It said, "Keep going." Underneath was a name I recognized from earlier that day, someone on his team. I felt a warmth bloom inside me. I didn't frame it. I didn't post it. I kept it private. Like you keep a tiny light in a cold room. I've been asked since then if I forgive myself for that day. The day I set out to bruise someone so I could be seen. I don't know how to answer. Forgiveness is not a door you just walk through once. It's a hallway with a lot of doors you keep opening. Some days I am gentle with the girl I was. Some days I still want to shake her. I try not to live in the extremes. I try to live in the middle where the truth is. Sometimes I think about the first question he asked me. Who taught you that pain is content? I used to think no one taught me. I thought I came to it on my own. Because I was tough and the world was hard. Now I know better. It is taught every day by little rewards for cruelty. It is taught when we clap for the sharpest take, not the truest one. It is taught when the loudest voice gets the mic. And it is unlearned the same way. By small choices. By turning down the volume and turning up the human. I am the woman who once sharpened her pen to draw blood. I am also the woman who now sets down the pen sometimes and just says, "Tell me where it hurts. Tell me where it heals." Both can be true. That too is a kind of twist. One night, months after the interview, I dreamed I was back in that chair. This time the roles were different. I was the one being asked the hard questions. Not on camera. In my head. When did you stop being kind? The voice asked. When did you decide you had to be mean to be safe? I woke up with the answer. I hadn't decided. Not once. I had decided 1,000 small times. And then I decided 1,000 small times to come back. People still ask me about him. They want me to tell them something secret. Something that will confirm whatever story they have already chosen. I disappoint them. I say what I know. I say I met a man who was not interested in winning a moment. I say he was interested in making a room safer. I say he was patient with me when I did not deserve it. I say he said the 3 words that opened a door in me. I see you. They don't always like that answer. It doesn't hum with scandal. It doesn't scratch the itch of outrage. It just sits there quiet and whole. But that's the thing about the truth. It doesn't always roar. Sometimes it arrives like soft rain in a dry month. You don't realize how thirsty you are until you drink it. I know what you might be thinking. Maybe you think I'm telling this story to polish my sins, or to ride his name to better ratings. Maybe you think there's a neat happy ending coming. I don't blame you for thinking that. We are trained to wait for crescendos, but I promise you this is not a perfect story. It's a flawed one. It's mine. I still mess up. I still feel the pull to be mean when I could be honest. I still feel the eyes of the machine on my back. I still hear the old voices, be fearless. Make it trend. Keep it sharp. Sometimes I lose the thread. And then on the better days I hear the quieter voice. The one that asks, who taught you that? The one that says, I see you. And I start again. I keep a ritual now. Before every interview I ask myself the question he asked me. When did the noise start for you? I try to answer. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes I don't want to. But the asking softens me. The asking reminds me that the person across from me has their own clock ticking. Their own list of names, their own night they don't talk about. It does not make me less professional. It makes me human. It makes the work mean something, which is all I wanted in the first place. Before fear dressed up as ambition and took me somewhere cold. If you're listening to this, maybe you're in that cold place. Maybe you're the one sharpening your words to feel bigger. Maybe you're the one on the receiving end of them. Wondering why your sadness has become a show for others. Maybe you're just tired. If that's you. If anything in this mess of a story is you. I want to hand you the only gift I know how to give. 3 small words that are heavier than they look. Words that were given to me when I needed them most. when I was trying to bury the part of me that could still feel. I see you. You don't have to perform your pain for a seat at the table. You don't have to shatter yourself to be worth watching. You don't have to keep the noise on so no one sees what you love. You can choose a smaller, braver thing. You can choose to be kind. Today to yourself. Even if no one is watching. Even if the numbers never move. Sometimes that is the most rebellious choice. One last twist before we part. The woman I was at the start of this story would never have believed that gentleness could change a career. She would laugh at the idea. She would call it naive. She would say the world is too sharp for that. And yet here I am. The people who come to sit with me now come ready to be human. Not spectacular. They still promote their work. They still share their victories. But they do it with a different light in their eyes. A softer one. I used to think my job was to keep the flame bright by blowing hard. Now I know my job is to keep the wind away long enough for the light to steady itself. So yes, I went in to break him. He broke me instead. In the way that only kindness can. He reminded me that what we say and how we say it can make a room safer. He reminded me that our worst days are not the only ones that matter. He reminded me that empathy is not weakness. It is the only kind of strength that doesn't need an audience to be real. Thank you for listening to this story. If it moved you, if it made you think, if it made you breathe a little easier, please like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. Your support helps this channel keep telling the kinds of stories that make the world a little kinder.